Fact: the largest number of non-literates in the world reside in India. Fact: since independence, the total number of non-literates has increased from around 200 million to 330 million. Fact: in certain states, literacy levels are as low as 39%, and in many districts they are as low as around 25%. Fact: almost 50% of children who enroll in primary school drop out before class 5, adding to the pool of non-literates. Fact: over 60% of the women in India are non-literate. Fact: in some states, the literacy levels of women are as low as 21%, and in many districts, as low as 15%. Fact: 70% of India's non-literates reside in only 7 states, 50% in only 4 states.
In India's drive to improve the quality of life of her people, there is no goal as important and challenging as the National Literacy Mission's program for adult education. The program gained national attention, focus and momentum in 1988 with the government's National Literacy Mission. The strategy was clear: make non-literates in the age group 15 to 35 literate. This age group is both in the reproductive and productive period of life. If they missed the opportunity or were denied access to the formal system, this was a second chance. In the process, a generation will emerge that will ensure their children are educated. This is the most effective way to achieve India's goal of education for all.
The power of the program was demonstrated in an experiment in a mass literacy campaign in Kottayam city, Kerala, and subsequently in Ernakulam district. Initiated in 1989 and successfully completed a year later. The results were amazing. On 4th February 1990, Ernakulam became the first district in the country to achieve 100% literacy. The campaign saw a fusion of thought and action between the district administration, voluntary groups, social activists, and numerous other sections of society. These events awakened the national conscience and formed the strategy for total literacy campaigns.
But what is literacy? Is it the ability to sign one's name? No. In adult education, literacy is defined as the acquisition of reading, writing and numeracy skills of a predetermined level. But the goal is functional literacy, which is the ability to apply these skills in day-to-day life. It's a goal with no shortcuts. To bring knowledge within the grasp of the vast majority of India and to ensure that we are part of the information era, the 8th five-year plan has set a target of making 100 million adults of the 110 million non-literates in the age group 15 to 35 literate by 1997. A 3-tier structure implements the program: the National Literacy Mission Authority, the State Literacy Mission Authority, and finally, at the district level, the Zilla Saksharta Samiti. Special emphasis is placed on groups far below the national average, which include women, scheduled castes, tribals, and other disadvantaged groups.
TLCs have been launched in 394 districts covering 140 million people. Of these, 232 districts are in the basic literacy phase, and post-literacy programs are being conducted in 162 districts. Post-literacy campaigns for the duration of 2 years are essential, as neoliterates can relapse into illiteracy without utilizing their skills and continuing education. In its endeavor to achieve these goals, India faces several challenges. Recent studies by expert groups and the constant evaluation of TLCs indicate that there are 5 principal challenges.
1. The Hindi heartland states, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, constitute the area where the problem of adult literacy is most acute. The large number of non-literates, the relatively small number of people from which volunteers can be drawn, and their concentration in urban areas, a gender bias against women, all make literacy more difficult to achieve in these states.
2. there are large regional disparities between states, between districts in a state, between males and females, tribals and non-tribals, girls and boys. The literacy level of tribal women in Bihar and Orissa is only 3 to 4%. And there are extreme cases of low levels in districts and states with otherwise very high levels of literacy. Another cause for concern is the poor progress of adult education in urban areas. For instance, in Greater Mumbai, 6.33 lakh among our target group are non-literate. In Delhi, the number is 12 lakh, and in Bangalore urban, 3.75 lakh.
3. Even in districts where there have been successful campaigns, there is a tendency for neo-literates to lapse into illiteracy once again due to the lack of adequate post-literacy programs and the lack of exposure to the electronic media.
4. The challenge of involving the newly elected Panchayati Raj institutions and motivating their representatives.
5. As enthusiasm is abundant, there is sometimes a tendency to launch TLCs without adequate planning and preparation. And sometimes there is a tendency to overestimate achievements. Faced with the mammoth task and the challenges, let's take a brief look at how a TLC is conducted. Broadly, there are 4 stages.
Stage 1. Environment building. The process of motivation and mobilization in a TLC with carefully plotted peak periods in the beginning, middle and end of a campaign. Environment building includes mobilizing public opinion and creating community participation, sensitizing educated sections and recruiting them as volunteers, enthusing teachers to more intensive efforts in enrolling, teaching and retaining learners. All kinds of media are utilized: the press, electronic media and non-traditional folk media.
Stage 2. Volunteer teachers and learners are identified during the heightened awareness in the environment building stage. Now, training of the task force begins by volunteer teachers, master trainers and resource persons.
Stage 3. The development, production and distribution of learning material. Learning material used in TLCs have been developed on a new principle called Improve Pace and Content of Learning, or IPCL. IPCL provides for a reduced duration of learning and an inbuilt mechanism for self-assessment by the learner. The learner achieves the expected levels of literacy within 200 hours. Volunteerism and careful planning keep the costs per learner low, only 65 to 100 rupees per learner. In the learning process, the strength of a TLC is demonstrated. Considerable effort is made to ensure that learners attend classes and continue to be motivated by environment building activities. The power of a TLC is optimized by continuous monitoring and evaluation at every stage. If necessary, structural, district-specific changes are made.
Stage 4. Post-literacy, continuing education and skill development. Any literacy campaign without a corresponding plan for post-literacy is an exercise in futility. Without the vibrance of a TLC, the lack of opportunities to utilize their recently acquired and fragile skills, many learners lapse into illiteracy. Exposure to electronic media, innovative reading materials, and the discovery of new skills during the TLC is the best way to keep them going on a process of continuous education. The costs per neo-literate in the post-literacy program range between 45 to 50 rupees. When planned and executed correctly, the results of a TLC are spectacular. TLCs have tapped the latent demand for literacy, the hunger for new skills. The goal is not just literacy, but to help create a self-reliant learning society. NLM has placed literacy high on the national agenda, and TLCs have transformed adult education from a program to a movement. Consider the achievements.
1. As you are aware, the literacy levels of women in India are alarmingly low. Remarkably, TLCs are succeeding where other methods have failed. Often, 60 to 65% of learners are women. Apart from achieving the required levels, they experience a tremendous increase in self-worth and go on to form groups, cooperatives, or start small rural businesses. The end result is women's empowerment.
2. The increase in enrollment and retention in primary education after a TLC, especially of girls, has been witnessed all over India.
3. The grassroots mass mobilization and revitalization of folk traditions in a TLC have resulted in considerable social cohesion and pride at the district level. The administration has become far more responsive and responsible. And for the first time in recent decades, social accountability in education has returned to the village level.
4. The multiplier effect of successful TLCs is amazing. Apart from the benefits already mentioned, they include improved standards and practices in family welfare, health and immunization, greater awareness about the environment, the ability to mobilize protest against social evils, better farm and agricultural practices.
5. And most important, we must remember the numbers. 86 million learners have and are being exposed to a world where words and numbers are no longer mysterious. And 53 million people have become literate with the help of 9 million volunteers.
Example, Pudukottai, Arivoli Iyakkam. After the TLC, 70,000 women became mobile and far more confident by learning to cycle. Thrift groups have accumulated lakhs of rupees with the smallest savings possible. Low interest loans from these deposits help them, all the way from purchasing cycles to bidding for and winning quarry contracts. Post-literates work in gem-cutting centers, maintain literacy walls, make pottery. A donation-based library movement helps sustain the demand for literacy.
Example, Nellore. Literacy has resulted in the banning of arak through innovative methods. Classes are held in rooms, outdoors, and even on the beach. Literacy is helping people save money and then buy essentials with the money they have saved. Neo-literates weave, paint saris, increase their income, and volunteers are now using their energy to conduct a health survey and profile of the district.
Example, Bilaspur. Here, classes are held everywhere, even near coal mines. Volunteers, non-literates and neo-literates are actively engaged in resource mapping of villages, making the famous Kosa saris, increasing respect for the environment and water, and campaigning against arak, all with the cry of Jai Akshar.
Example, Delhi. In a difficult urban environment, children are helping motivate people. Kala Jathas are bringing literacy to the people on the street. Classes are taking place in homes, under a tree, in semi-urban slums, in small business establishments. Volunteers are coming forward and are being trained by committed master trainers and key resource people.
Example, Dumka. Here literacy has its own buildings and meeting places. The Didi Bank scheme takes small savings from people, is open 24 hours, offers loans at 2% interest and helps give back functionality to literacy. The program encourages district-specific entrepreneurship. A literacy hill has been dedicated to volunteers. Volunteers, called Jago Behenas, are activists for the program. Women are being taught how to fix hand pumps and are being rewarded for having a girl child with 4 saplings.
Example, Baswara. Here, the literacy campaign is being run despite extremely adverse social and economic indicators. But people take to the roads and walk for miles for literacy. Every motivator is used. Tradition, priests, children, the panchayat, the administration, folk traditions. New organizations that have risen from the program, like Halma, which means collective effort, and individuals committed to the cause. Volunteers are everywhere, and their training is a serious business. And the strong link between adult literacy and primary education is clearly evident. Imagine even class 5 students are volunteers, teaching a generation far older than them.
This briefly is the adult literacy program, spearheaded by Total Literacy Campaigns. A movement that is strong in ideas, from detailed planning to the revitalization of folk traditions. A catalyst for social change. One of India's best examples of the untapped power of volunteerism. Come, take pride in its achievements and share its challenges.